Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. A good friend of mine asked me what would be the best approach to sketching when it comes to a digital drawing as the outcome, traditional or digital sketching. And just because there's no right answer to the question and it's all up to personal preference and comfort, I decided to make a video on this matter and share my thoughts on the subject. For this video, I wanted to play with a simple sketch just to show the basics and not get lost into details, so I decided to draw a simple portrait. Nothing fancy, just something fast that I could play with in the second part of the video. You can see I'm kind of messy when it comes to sketching. My sketches are never clean because I draw way too many lines and I just redraw over the ones that I want to keep. After finishing the face, I gave her a fur coat in order to have freedom in the bottom half of the drawing and not be constrained by different shapes and the line art. Once I finished the hair, I wanted to add something more to the drawing because it felt a little bit out of balance, and I thought I might add some accessories to the fur coat and the beret that I really liked. And once the sketch is finished, I started redrawing over some of the lines because it helps me better define the shapes. And that's it. In order to see how the drawing can turn out, I decided to create 3 digital drawings. One with a digital line art, one with a traditional line art, and of course one without the line art, because sometimes all you need is just a sketch, no matter the medium you're using. Because I have already scanned the sketch, I figured out I should start with the part where I'm making a digital line art and also figure out the color palette and the composition as well as the overall look and feel of the illustration. I decided to use just a traditional sketch for this video and not make a digital one for the same drawing because the medium you're sketching in doesn't really make that big of a difference when you're only looking for a sketch. You have much more freedom on hand movement when it comes to traditional sketching, but you have more versatility when it comes to digital sketching because you're able to reposition the drawing, change the canvas size, and of course you can undo. And in the end it's just a sketch, so it doesn't really matter what medium you're using. Personally, I haven't drawn a line art in ages, and I'm not kidding because for the past years, my illustrations have been either just traditional line art with a lot of lines involved or just flat digital illustrations with no line art whatsoever, and this is why I didn't really have any idea what I was doing here. For me, making a line art digital is quite frustrating because when it comes to traditional line art, I'm used to the control I have over the line, while digitally I don't really have that control. I have to redo some of the lines over and over, especially curves, and I have to keep rotating the canvas until I figure out which angle works best for my hand position in order to achieve the line that I want, and that doesn't happen that easily. As I mentioned while I was sketching, I had no plan in creating a line art for the fur coat because I wanted to be able to play with its shape in a dark color. When it comes to laying down the base colors, most artists prefer using the bucket tool when working with the line art, but for some reason I prefer using the brush. It does take a little bit longer, especially if you're working on a big piece, but I think I'm enjoying it because it feels like I'm actually coloring. It's not efficient at all, but that's just my way of doing it. This video is definitely not about shading or coloring, but I did get a little bit too much into it, so I'm just starting adding a little bit of shading to all of the 3 versions. The second version and approach is the traditional line art used for digital drawing. You can create really nice line art by inking with liners, markers, ink, or even gel pens. For this drawing, I used my rotring liners in 01 and 03 and some other liners that I had in smaller sizes. When you're inking and making a liner traditionally, you need to make sure you're creating clean, continuous lines as much as possible. In order to achieve clean, continuous lines, I usually keep my hand as steady as possible and draw the line as slow as I have to. I also like rotating the paper a lot, so what's actually happening is that my hand is used to drawing a specific type of line in not very many angles. Also, try to keep in mind that a line art looks much more cleaner if the width of the line doesn't change too much. Also, make sure that when you're finished, you erase your sketch and also check if there are lines that you might need to retouch. Once you have your line art scanned, bring it in Photoshop and clean any dust, dirt or messy lines you may have. Even if your lines might not need retouching, there's a pretty big chance you might have some dust particles scanned with your drawing. After you're done cleaning the line art, play with the levels and the contrast until your line art is actually black, not dark grey. I usually create a random black shape over the line art to see if the shades are similar. If your line art isn't black, it's not gonna be opaque, and when you're gonna lay down the base colors, you're going to notice that you can see the color underneath the line art. When working with a line art, you have to keep in mind that everything needs to be carefully penned, so you don't have to make changes or adjustments to the line art halfway through. Using a line art, especially one drawn in black, can offer a lot of contrast and definition to the final illustration. If, however, you want to give up on the black and lower the contrast, you can always recolor it. I did struggle a little bit with the code because I couldn't give it a shape that I liked, and I kept being thrown off by the line art that I previously drew, so I just ended up erasing the lines and free drawing the code just like in the previous version. After I finished the drawing, I came back to it and I erased the extra lines I drew for the hair. I did this because I didn't have them in the first version, and for the sake of a correct comparison, it seemed fair to keep all the 3 drawings as similar as possible. The third version, and also the last one, is the digital drawing with no line art, which can be made with any type of sketch. This one has been my personal favorite in the past year when it comes to digital illustration. It made everything much faster for me, as well as much comfortable because I don't have to struggle with the line art, and I can also adapt as I go without having to redraw any line when some new idea comes in. For this type of illustration, I just lay the base colors on top of the sketch as shapes and make sure that they overlap and that there are no gaps between them. The downside of this style is that you have to pay attention to the contrast between the colors so that the shapes don't blend together, because they aren't defined by a black line. When it comes to details, especially on the face, I use a darker shade of the base color to draw them with fine lines, but some artists prefer just painting. When you're just looking for a sketch for your new digital illustration, think about what is most comfortable for you. Do you enjoy sketching with a tablet, or are you more into paper? Do you have a scanner nearby or not? The medium you'll be using for your sketch will not matter that much in the end. What will matter instead is the way you will be turning that sketch into a finished illustration. Experiment, find your style, see what you're most comfortable with, and keep in mind that there are no mistakes in art. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a comment down below and let me know what subject would you like me to talk about next. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button for more, and I'll see you guys next time.